There comes a moment in every Gemini's life when being nice stops feeling like kindness and starts feeling like self-betrayal. And if you're watching this, chances are you've already felt it. That quiet exhaustion, that mental heaviness that doesn't come from doing too much, but from giving too much of yourself to people who never really asked how you were doing in return. This video is not here to make you harsher, colder, or bitter. It's here to wake you up. Because right now, your biggest obstacle isn't other people. It's the version of yourself that keeps choosing comfort over truth, approval over self-respect, and peace on the outside over chaos on the inside. Gemini is often misunderstood as carefree, light, adaptable, and emotionally detached. But what people rarely talk about is how deeply Gemini absorbs the environment around them. You notice everything: tone changes, unspoken expectations, emotional undercurrents. And because you see so much, you often feel responsible for smoothing things over, for keeping the mood light, for making sure no one feels uncomfortable, even when that means silencing your own discomfort. Over time, this turns into a habit. You become the one who understands, the one who adjusts, the one who lets things slide, and slowly, almost invisibly, you teach people that your boundaries are flexible, your time is negotiable, and your needs come last. Being too nice as a Gemini doesn't come from weakness. It comes from intelligence, from empathy, from the ability to see multiple perspectives at once. You can understand why someone acted the way they did. You can rationalize their behavior. You can talk yourself into patience when others would walk away. And at first, this feels like maturity, like emotional evolution. But there's a line, and most Geminis cross it without realizing. The moment you start explaining other people's behavior more than your own feelings, you've already abandoned yourself. The truth is, Gemini often confuses kindness with availability. You reply fast, you listen deeply, you give mental energy freely, you stay longer than you should in conversations, situations, relationships, and jobs that drain you, simply because you don't want to disappoint anyone or be misunderstood. You don't want to be seen as selfish, dramatic, or difficult. So, you adapt. You minimize. You smile through discomfort, and eventually you wake up one day feeling strangely disconnected from your own desires, wondering when exactly your life became so full and yet so unsatisfying. What makes this pattern especially dangerous for Gemini is how normal it feels. You're not suffering loudly, you're not exploding, you're not creating chaos. You're functioning, you're productive, you're socially accepted. And because everything looks fine from the outside, you convince yourself that it must be fine on the inside too. But mental exhaustion doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It shows up as boredom, irritability, restlessness, or that constant feeling that something is missing, even when nothing is technically wrong. At some point, focusing on yourself will offend people. That's not a flaw. It's a sign that you're finally changing the dynamic. The people who benefited most from your silence, flexibility, and emotional labor will be the first to feel uncomfortable when you stop offering it so freely. And this is where Gemini often hesitates. You sense the shift immediately, the awkwardness, the subtle guilt-tripping, the passive comments, and your instinct is to fix it, to explain yourself, to soften your boundaries so others don't feel rejected. But here's the hard truth. Not everyone deserves an explanation, and not every discomfort is yours to resolve. Gemini, you are not here to be emotionally convenient. You are not here to constantly translate yourself into something easier for others to digest. Growth requires friction. Self-respect requires discomfort. And if you keep choosing to be liked over being aligned with yourself, you will continue to feel mentally scattered, emotionally drained, and quietly unfulfilled, no matter how busy or successful your life looks. There's a reason you feel restless when you overgive. Your mind is designed for movement, curiosity, and expansion. When you stay stuck in roles that require you to shrink, suppress, or perform emotional availability on demand, your energy turns inward and starts working against you. That's when overthinking begins. That's when detachment feels tempting. That's when you fantasize about disappearing, starting over, or cutting everyone off. Not because you don't care, but because you've cared too much for too long without caring for yourself. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming honest. Honest about what drains you, honest about what excites you, honest about when you've outgrown a dynamic, even if no one else is ready to admit it. And yes, some people will take this personally. They will call you distant, different, changed. But what they're really reacting to is the loss of access they once had to your time, attention, and emotional flexibility. This year, and especially at this stage of your growth, Gemini, you are being asked to choose depth over approval, direction over distraction, self-trust over constant validation. The more you try to stay palatable to everyone, the further you drift from your own center. And the more you return to yourself, the clearer everything becomes, even if the process feels uncomfortable at first. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions at the expense of your own clarity. You are allowed to say no without explaining yourself. You are allowed to prioritize your mental space. You are allowed to disappoint others if it means finally honoring your own limits. Being too nice has cost you enough. It's time to redirect that intelligence, empathy, and awareness back toward the one person who's been consistently neglected in the process. You. One of the hardest emotions for Gemini to confront when they start choosing themselves is guilt. Not loud guilt, not dramatic guilt, but that quiet, subtle feeling that whispers you're being unfair, or you're changing, or you should explain yourself better. Gemini guilt doesn't come from doing something wrong. It comes from breaking patterns that once made others comfortable. And because you're so mentally aware of how your actions affect people, you often mistake their discomfort for your responsibility. When you begin to pull back, to say less, to give less access, something interesting happens. People don't usually ask how you're feeling. They question what changed. They try to restore the old version of you, the flexible one, the understanding one, the endlessly patient one. And this is where Gemini feels torn, because part of you still understands them. You can see why they're confused. You can empathize with their reaction. But empathy without boundaries turns into self-erasure. And that's the trap you've been stuck in for too long. Being too nice trained people to expect you to be emotionally available on demand. It taught them that you would always answer, always adapt, always listen, always smooth things over. So when you stop doing that, even slightly, it feels disruptive. But disruption isn't destruction, it's recalibration. You're not becoming distant, you're becoming selective. You're not shutting down, you're conserving energy. And for Gemini, energy is everything. Your mind thrives when it's stimulated, inspired, and free. It deteriorates when it's constantly managing emotional noise that doesn't belong to you. What many Geminis don't realize is that overkindness is often a form of control, not over others, but over outcomes. You try to keep everyone okay so nothing explodes, so no one leaves, so no conflict arises. But in doing so, you postpone the inevitable truth. Relationships that only survive because you overextend yourself are not stable, they're dependent. And dependence is suffocating for a sign ruled by air. When you finally start focusing on yourself, the mental clarity can feel almost uncomfortable at first. You notice how much time you were spending thinking about other people's reactions, how often your decisions were filtered through, how will this make them feel, instead of, does this align with me? That shift alone is powerful. It changes how you speak, how you move, how you show up, and people feel it immediately. Some will respect you more, some will feel threatened, some will quietly drift away. And Gemini, this is not loss, it's sorting. You are not meant to be understood by everyone. You are meant to be aligned with yourself, and alignment doesn't require constant explanation. In fact, the more you explain, the more you dilute your truth. Gemini often believes that if they just communicate better, people will understand and adjust. But the reality is, people adjust when boundaries are consistent, not when they're endlessly justified. Choosing yourself will offend people who benefited from you not having boundaries. It will confuse people who were comfortable with you being adaptable but not assertive. And it will distance you from dynamics that relied on your emotional labor to function. That doesn't make you selfish, it makes you self-aware. There's a difference. Selfishness takes without consideration. Self-respect simply stops giving where it's no longer reciprocated. As a Gemini, you are evolving mentally faster than many people around you. Your curiosity is shifting inward. Your tolerance for superficial connections is shrinking. Your need for stimulation is becoming more intentional. This is why old patterns feel unbearable now. This is why being nice no longer feels noble. It feels heavy. You're not meant to carry everyone with you into the next phase of your life. Some people were only meant to meet the old version of you. Focusing on yourself will sharpen your intuition. You'll start noticing when conversations drain you instead of inspire you, when environments feel stagnant instead of expansive, when relationships feel obligatory instead of energizing, and instead of forcing yourself to stay, you'll allow yourself to move. This is where Gemini becomes powerful. Not loud power, but quiet authority. The kind that doesn't chase approval. The kind that doesn't over-explain. The kind that trusts itself. You don't need to become colder. You don't need to cut everyone off. You don't need to change who you are at your core. You simply need to stop sacrificing your inner clarity to keep external peace. Because peace that costs you yourself is not peace. It's suppression, and suppression always finds a way to resurface, usually as burnout, detachment, or sudden disappearances that even you don't fully understand. This shift won't happen overnight. You'll catch yourself wanting to revert, wanting to soften your stance, wanting to reassure people that you're still the same. And in some ways, you are. Still intelligent, still kind, still aware. But now, that kindness includes you. That awareness protects your energy, and that intelligence finally works in your favor. Gemini, focusing on yourself is not a betrayal of others. It's a return to yourself. And yes, it may offend some people. But the ones who truly respect you will adapt. The ones who don't were never aligned with your growth to begin with. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them misunderstand. Your life becomes lighter the moment you stop carrying what was never yours to hold. If this message resonated with you, make sure to let me know. Leave a like. It helps this message reach other Geminis who need to hear it. Comment below, what's one situation where you realized you were being too nice and forgot about yourself? Your experience might help someone else see things more clearly. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you want more deep, honest content about Gemini, psychology, and personal growth without sugarcoating the truth. This is just the beginning.